Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to Congregation Beth Ahaba's weekly Torah videos. This week's portion is called Parashat Pinchas, and I'll tell you why it's one of my favorite portions. This week's portion has a lot going on. There's really 5 separate pieces of the portion, the first of which is the dramatic conclusion of the previous week's portion of the dalliance between the Israelite men and the Midianite women and their God, which ends with the priest named Pinchas. And at the beginning of this portion, God creates a brit shalom, a covenant of peace with him. Then there's a tally or a census of all of the people as they're preparing to finally enter the promised land. As a result of this tally or census, the daughters of a man named Zelophehad approach Moses to ask about changing the laws of inheritance to include women. Then Moses is shown a vista, a view of the land that he won't be able to enter, and he and God appoint his successor, Joshua. And finally, there's a review of sacrifices and offerings on certain occasions and festivals. So there's a lot to unpack during this week's portion, and I want to just notice one seemingly small but I think significant piece, which is when Moses and God are thinking about appointing a successor, before they even think about appointing a successor, first Moses goes up onto a high place to get a view of what's to come. And I think that this is something that we can do in our own lives. In the context of leadership, you can say, first you have to look at what's necessary, what the job will require, and then you have to pick a leader who fits the job. Or in a more general sense, in our own lives, anytime we find ourselves at a crossroads or a point of transition, then we should find some kind of vantage, some kind of way to view as much into our future as we can, and then and only then take those things into account that we see when we're making our plans for what comes next. So I think this is a small but useful piece of advice gleaned from our Torah portion this week. Shabbat Shalom.